Welcome back to Once in a While podcast. This is Sean, your host. I got Dominique here. Matt.
Hi, how's it going?
John. And Ryan as your co-host.
What's going on, guys?
We're just going to be talking about a lot of random shit, so...
We just came back from Green Beer Sunday, so let's talk about that.
Sunday.
We are in the aftermath of Green Beer Sunday.
This is the first Green Beer Sunday I've ever been to.
That's
Granted, I had to go to my sister's tasting, so I kind of lost the green beer aspect. But I at least had a green beer, so...
How cool of a place do you think you have to be in to not come to Green Beer Sunday? Like, you're like, oh, like, I'm gonna, like...
You gotta be old.
Literally anywhere.
Yeah, you just gotta be
You
old.
think anywhere else?
Anywhere else.
You guys anywhere.
Did you guys hear about today?
If I was at the zoo, I would be like, nah.
No, listen. You guys hear about today? They had a chicken wing crawl. I think your mom went to it.
Did
she say
that was downtown?
It was called a wing crawl. It was like same thing as a pub crawl where like you easy where you bounce from bar to bar and you try the chicken wings. But that's for the people that aren't about going to Green Beer Sunday. They go to that, and that was the alternative.
But, like, what? That's not what I'm even asking, because, like, that's way more local.
What entails you to...
Like, where are you at, like, if you're in Pennsylvania, are you coming back to Green Beer Sunday?
No, I mean...
Yes?
If I'm 30 miles away, I'm not coming.
30 miles away?
Yeah.
30 miles isn't that
If
far.
I'm like up in Pulaski, I'm like, dude, I'd rather watch these Amish people drive their fucking horse and buggy down the road. Sorry, bud.
The Amish can go there before I go.
Literally.
Shots, guys.
It's gonna be more exciting watching their horse take a shit than fucking green beer. Sorry.
So Sean, what was your take from Green Beer Sunday? What was it like for you?
I mean, shit, what? I fucking came back.
You were there at the beginning. Like, you got
I came back, or I showed up in the beginning, yeah, had a few beers, we went out, and then fucking waited in the line. Had to leave, came back, saw you guys at the fucking band. The band wasn't even fucking playing. And then all I hear is, yeah, we're about to fucking leave in like 5 minutes. I was like, what? So Dominique had a huge ass fucking picture of what was it, cider?
Yeah.
So I was like, shit.
1911.
1911. So I had about like 3 of those, 3 fucking things of those. I mean, shit. I haven't seen as many drunk people in a minute.
Yeah.
As I was even fucking walking from your house, like there was this girl just like, like dudes just fucking holding them up. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, that was what, 2:00 in the afternoon.
I mean, shit, that was like 5.
Yeah.
About 5 o'clock.
Yeah, shit gets rowdy.
And I was like, damn.
I always wondered how many people like just don't make it out. Like they just.
They just pass out.
You ever look at the faces of the people leaving that are like, you can tell
their souls.
Yo, yeah, you can tell.
Like, they had a bad time.
Yeah,
I'm taking that girl home with me.
Here's
That's
my chance.
I couldn't believe like off the rip like how busy the bathrooms were. I took a piss outside of the urinals, like behind the urinals, and it was like I obviously I have stage fright, so like it took me. Me and Josh both had stage fright. So Josh and I combined, it was like we were out behind the urinals for like 45 minutes.
The band is through half their set. Josh, come on, we gotta get back.
Like, everybody's finished 2 drinks by now, Josh.
I saw some ladies pee behind the dumpster today.
I did too, dude.
I was
Girls are just dropping
I peed
it.
behind the dumpster, and then I was leaving, and 2 ladies were like, "Oh, you're done peeing over there?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they went up and they peed right over there.
And you saw their fresh spoon tanks?
That's not my interest. I'm not interested in any of that. But
for me. That's squirting.
There was 2 ladies.
Hurting for a squirting.
Outside today.
More of it all is like Green Beer Sunday in Tipp Hill is...
Green Beer is fucking nutty.
It's a holiday.
Very supportive.
Even though I was there for a short time, like, it's crazy.
I went to church this morning.
Yeah. What was the takeaway?
Honestly, I didn't take fucking shit away from what the
Nothing.
priest was saying.
So what?
What really?
What religion? Like, to give a little background.
They're
what-
like Presbyterian or whatever, Protestant or
Protestant.
whatever. Protestant, Presbyterian or whatever. But honestly, like, when I was there, when the priest was talking, I felt literally nothing. But my sister, like, sings on the praise and worship team and
Shelley,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when she was singing up there, I felt like a lot. Like, I felt a lot. I was like, wow, like, first of all, my sister Michelle was the smallest person on the stage. And, like, I don't know if it was, like, God going through her or whatever you want to call it or whatever. But she had, like, the presence of, like, a giant. Like, people, like, you couldn't take your eyes off. You were like,
Yeah.
you were
She
like,
was
wow,
the
this
spotlight.
tiny person, there's so much stuff coming through her right now. That's
Right.
crazy, you know?
Do you think that's from the power of gospel, like the music that she's performing?
I think it's because I just know Michelle, you know?
Right,
I know
right.
she's shy and she's kind of like a little more like,
So it's more of an introspective, like you
yeah,
know what
she's like a little
capable
more
of.
docile and shy, but when she was up on that stage, like, she was free as fuck. Like, nobody could stop her from doing whatever the fuck she wanted because it was like, she was just feeling it, you know?
Was she like, I remember she did something. Was she like acting when she was younger, or was she like singing?
She's just singing in the choir.
Well, she used to be an actor too, though,
Did
or
she?
actress.
But, like, a big thing for me when I saw her singing and I was like, I think one of the most powerful things is I just knew Shelley's whole life. I saw, like, all the obstacles she went through and how tough her life was sometimes. And the fact that she's up there, like, so happy and feeling it gave me, like, a ton of perspective. Like, wow, everybody on that stage, everybody in this crowd has lived a tough life. And they're all just feeling the same thing, feeling that, like, push towards, I don't know, God or faith or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But when people are all feeling that same thing, like, it's pretty powerful.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I feel like it's pretty moving. Like,
Being
even if you don't believe in it, but, like, if you're in the same spot where everybody is just, like, has the same mentality and is working towards the same goal, which is just loving and helping others, that's a huge thing.
There's
you
power
know?
behind it.
There's a
Yeah.
huge power behind it.
Right.
being the brother to sisters, do you ever feel the need? Like, personally, like, I feel that, like, I hang out with Sarah, and we get along really well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel the need to annoy your sisters? You're like...
Annoy them?
Yeah, like, I
That's
feel...
my job, bro.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's
like,
my job.
I sometimes I don't feel like it's nice for me talking to Sarah, but, like, this morning, she's like, Matt, can I have the maple syrup? And we're all sitting. It's me and my brother, Michael and Joey and Sarah on this side, and it's in the middle. And I go to reach for it, and I pretend there's a force field around it. And then I can't grab it. And she's like, bro, like, can you seriously grab this? And for like 5 minutes, I was like, I can't fucking grab it. And she got pissed. And I thought that was hilarious.
She used to like put it.
What's
right
everybody's
in his
plan
hand, just, like,
tomorrow?
Whoa, what's everybody's playing? You're fucking moving, bro. I ain't telling you that story. Yeah.
I would just love to hear it, you know?
You fucking
If we got the time. But I don't feel like I annoy my sisters like that, you know, because I'm just more mature than that, I guess.
But it's also different in the sense that, like, you're in a bigger family. Like,
Yeah,
Matt
that
is
is
the
true.
older brother in the family.
That
So,
is
like,
true.
he
I'm
has
the
that kind
youngest of
role.
7, so it's like
Exactly.
my whole life I was annoying them. So now that I'm not, it's like, oh, this is cool. Like, we can hang out without being annoyed, you know?
Right.
I don't know. How is it growing up as a lonely child, Dominique? I feel like it's a whole different
Did you
situation.
say only child or lonely child?
Both. Both. You're only and lonely.
I think it has its pluses and minuses. Like, I would say the best part about it is I feel very independent and, like, I don't necessarily need to, like, hang out with people to, like, feel happy. But I also look at all my friends who have siblings and I'm like, oh, I wish that I had someone that I could just, like, always count on to be my friend. Or, like, count on to, like, tell my secrets to, and I don't have to worry about them, like, turning on me or stuff,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I always think about the future, like, when you're, like, a grandfather on your deathbed. For me, like, I want just as many people as around me, like, as possible. Like, if I could have as many kids as possible, as long as I could provide for them, and then I'm on my deathbed and I see hundreds of people that I produced. Like,
Is that the reason? Is like
crazy.
you want to see like
Well,
your offspring of like your
it's-
future generation?
There's a
like,
tie to
who
your
co-
future.
Who
you know?
comes from
Well,
you?
Yeah.
What would you guys want to do on your deathbed? Like, what do you like? What would you do? Like,
Heroin.
that's not. That's not the question I'm asking.
You don't have to be on your deathbed. You just try it tomorrow if you want.
Copious
I'm
amounts
talking like
every day.
of hard
What
drugs.
like what would you guys want upon your death? Like, you trying to be buried? You trying to like? Do you have any like specific ideas?
Let me go
as far
first.
as that?
My idea with that is very unorthodox, and it's kind of a newer like idea of I want my
It is.
body to be put into. They make these. It's almost like a pod, and your body is buried within this pod, and it's planted in the ground, and it's a tree seed. So all of your body is deposited into the fertilization of the tree that's being planted. So eventually, like you could say, like when you die, for your say your grandchildren or your great grandchildren, this is you. Like this is your grandfather. It's like you. This tree that is present right now is from your grandfather.
Would this be at like a cemetery, or would this be
Great
like
question.
just anywhere?
Like a park?
Preferably, it'd be like on a property that I own that I can pass on to my ancestors. You know, like
There's a lot
You-
of
you
weird
could
rules
pass,
and laws
That would be
that
the-
you can't do that.
Is there?
A lot of weird ones. Like
I think
You
it'd
know,
be
a
cool to go
tree
like
pod
butcher
burial.
and then fed to
You might-
everybody that you love. You
uh,
know, like everybody gets like a John.
Here's a thigh of John.
Yeah, like
your
you get
great
a John
uncle.
mutton chop. You get a John steak. You know, you get the John butt chop.
Yeah, who gets to spread the bad parts?
no, I'm
what
gonna-
do you, like,
Yeah.
There's no
Here's
bad
John's
parts of
lungs.
me. There's no bad parts
Let
of me,
me-
bud. You're lucky to get whatever you get, bud.
let me retract that. 'cause
John used to talk about eating these
I
all
don't
the
know
time.
the actual answer to that. Like you might be able to, like in a cemetery, why not? But
Well, I don't see why. Like,
Even
let's
if-
say your grandparents.
Are you talking about being a tree? Because it's called the
Arbor.
pod burial.
our ball.
But
No,
it also
Tree
depends
pod
on where
burial.
you want it, because you could have yourself be put at a specific spot, and then when you're gone, they can sell that spot or whatever,
Absolutely.
and then it's like, oh, now we gotta go to
But you hope that they
this
don't.
person's
You say that,
place
like,
to
you
see
got
your fucking
great
tree.
But
grandpa
it would
and
be
your-
more sacred because like. But my thing is what Josh brought up is like,
four.
is there other laws like if your grandparent died, can you bury them in your backyard legally if you wanted to bury them in your backyard?
Anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you be
could
able
you?
to? Yeah.
You know
Don't
what
know.
I've always
I don't know
wondered
either.
actually?
Why
don't
would that be
know.
illegal?
Residency.
It's like
the whole-
because after you sell
But
the
you
house,
own that property.
there's a dead
though.
body in the backyard.
Yeah,
like
what
it has
happens
to
But
be
then,
tracked.
yeah,
happens
then you
when you-
sell it or whatever.
They're gonna dig it up and
But like
ship
that's
it.
your property. Why can't you fucking bury whatever?
No,
the hell
but
you
I'm
want?
saying if they sell
It's not
that
illegal. You didn't
property,
murder anybody.
That's their property now, so-
no, doesn't matter.
You know what
It's-
I've actually always wondered, with especially Dome and Matt here, is like, you guys ever
weird.
in like the medical profession get put in a position where you have to do something like unethical? You
You
know?
question.
do all the
Deep
time,
question.
no?
Yes.
You
On
must.
Like where you're
Both
like,
of
I
you
don't
all-
think this is right to do, but like I have to do it.
HIPAA.
No names.
It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, no names.
It's not against HIPAA if you like don't include it.
Again,
I mean,
who's
even
gonna
if it
listen to
was,
the
you
podcast? Yeah, who's gonna listen to this podcast?
My sister loves it, right? Loves it. All in. My sister is 100% in.
Fuck
There's
you,
been like
Mariah.
a
just
weird,
saying.
the weirdest,
Mariah?
the weirdest
How about
ethical
it?
predicament I've ever been in was
You're not
was
kidding. She loves it.
family full of. I was working on the oncology unit, and it was an older man passing away. The family was full of doctors, and they had said that the ones that were most important were like, we want him to go peacefully, a DNR, DNI. We want him on comfort care. Like, they just wanted him to be given morphine and pass away.
Just pass away. Yeah.
Right, and that's what they said at first. And
Crazy
then
they talk about it like
yeah,
it's
well,
an animal being.
but like that's how it works, man.
Yeah.
You gotta
That's how
be. If you have something coming up like that, you have to really be on the same page.
It's
with the
either yes or
family
no.
because
Like
those things, those situations come up, and it's a tough decision to make. Like,
But what
once you
about
get
their
there.
will, though?
Well, you
Some
can
people
definitely-
don't.
If they have a will, though,
So
yeah, that's
you have to abide by that.
Well, that's the point. Some
But if
people,
they don't,
some people
then-
have
some people's family.
Well, what they do,
wishes
yeah,
against
some
their will.
people's will be like, I want my wife to decide this for me. I want my oldest son to decide this
Yeah.
for me. Like that's like the situation in some cases. This person had left it up to like a couple people in their family. They listed a couple people as their decision makers, and it's a family full of doctors. But
like your attorneys or whatever you want to call them.
no, they're
proxy.
They're proxy.
Okay,
They listed
yeah.
several people as their proxy, but they're all doctors. So like, and all of them.
so
like,
they're
we're-
medically aware of like
they're
the situation.
they're not all, but they're not all like Western medicine practice doctors. Like they had
That's a
been,
big deal, though.
They're
That's a
Middle
big-
Eastern doctors. Like they had gone to school in the Middle East, and they're all very intelligent people. I'd had like in-length conversations with all of them. Like they're very like all very smart people.
In-depth.
Like, and they're very great people.
Yeah.
But they at certain points come to disagreements on like what was going on. Like there'd be a point like where the guy would start to get fluid retention buildup, and
They were making a different call than what you would prefer.
well, what comfort care is you do not treat a condition, you treat for symptom management. So if you have stage 4 lung cancer, you're no longer treated. If you say I want to go on a comfort care, you're no longer treated for your stage 4 cancer. You're just treated to reduce the pain of that until you die. When you get into that point, a lot of people get confused about what's going on. So this whole family was like, oh, we want to start giving him LASIK so he pees a little more and he's not like so swollen.
That was their preference over what your medical advice would be.
It just gets gray.
Yeah.
It's like, because you could think of like, if you were on your deathbed, like you could think like, if I'm swollen up, like I'm going to be uncomfortable.
What's the best way to go about it?
Yeah, but the point is, like, yeah, like, there's been plenty, like, when you work, like, there's plenty of uncomfortable situations where you have to decide how you're going to handle the situation, like, based on, like, pre-existing paperwork and all this shit. It's really complicated.
I have a question. I have a quick question. I've recently been looking into Western medicine is very different from other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like our American culture goes by Western medicine,
Mhm.
and that is much different than other parts of the world.
Right.
And like, this is like something that I'm not very intelligent about, but I know that there are. For the longest time, I always felt like, for the most part, the world went by the same medical practices, which I've now found out is very not true.
Yeah.
And it's kind of mind-boggling to me that even today, in today's modern world, there's still not like a baseline standard practice of like how people should be treated.
Super different.
Well-
And in terms of medical practitioners, how is it different? Like, so you guys are both obviously like, Dominique, you're obviously in physical
Eastern
therapy,
medicine.
and you're a registered nurse. So it's like you're both going through different fields of medical practice, but you're both seeing the same style, right?
Eastern medicine isn't so much pharmacology, like,
More natural.
like herbal remedies, and also,
I think-
yes, there is. Like, what do you...
Yes, but you can't assume it's not all herbal.
It's not all,
remedies.
but, like,
I think
it's
that what
based-
it boils down to is that, and I think part of it is just the way that our particular country is constructed. We have there's the pharmaceutical industry, and that is a massive part of capitalism in our country. We make money off of giving people medications.
Yeah, fully.
So I think that, and not that it's like a bad thing, but that has kind of evolved, that Western medicine is more, we're going to give you a medication to treat the symptoms you're having,
Right.
and not really invest a lot of resources or money into researching the root cause of these issues. And I think Eastern medicine, like Matt was saying, yes, like there's herbal remedies and there's more like naturopathic, like remedies that people invest in and that people have a lot more research in as like, okay, this person has diabetes, this person has like heart conditions, this person has like hyperlipidemia. Instead of giving them medications to like reduce the impacts of their diabetes and their heart issues and all that, we instead would have focused on maybe preventing that from happening or making it go away.
It's like
We don't
it's
really
a step
do that.
before the actual solving of the issue.
Yeah, we treat symptoms here. And I think that's why, not to like get on my high horse, but I think that's why,
Dude, I'm on your high horse right now. I'm good.
that's
I'll
why,
tell you, I'll tell you afterwards.
Josh is
I'm
on your
I'll tell you
high. All right, Dom.
I'm riding it.
Josh
I'm
is
riding
on
it.
it.
that's
I'm
why
on it.
from
You're
a
good, dude. You're
physical
good. Just
therapy
rip it.
standpoint, I don't make as much money as a lot of people in the medical field because I don't prescribe medications.
Right.
And
You should make more.
my goal is to prevent people from coming back to the hospital rather than having them feel a little better, bounce back, feel a little better, bounce back.
Right.
And not that that's what any like physician or nurse wants, but that's kind of
How the system is
system is built. We don't actually always delve at like the root cause. And I think from like a therapy standpoint, I'm like, hey, I want to get this person better so I don't ever have to see them in this hospital again.
But it's
That
set up
makes so
to,
much sense, yo. I love how you said
That's what I was going
they
at.
treat symptoms and not the actual problem.
right. Like they're trying
Because
to.
I think even like people mentally do that. Like they're like, oh, I'm getting mad. I shouldn't get so mad.
Right.
But they're not looking at the problem like, why do I get so mad?
They're
There's
take
gotta be
medication to
something- Yeah.
temper them down, but
like
it's
not
the
even
root.
medication, even just the way they think.
You know,
like if they're
I mean,
trying to better themselves,
should-
they're like,
So many answers.
oh, I shouldn't get so mad. Even though what they should be thinking is like, what in my past makes me think that way?
And I
you
think
know?
it's like even just us, like not even in the medical field, like think about how many times we have a headache and we know it is 9 out of 10 times because you're dehydrated.
Good old
And what are you going to
Tylenol.
do? You're going to take a Tylenol.
Good
You're
old
not gonna
Tylenol.
just drink
I don't
more
do that.
water.
I don't do that. I go to bed though, and then I wake up real fucked up.
I know, you're
I
getting
wake up
water.
with a heavy ass headache.
Tell the
Like-
story, John, of the worst you've ever been dehydrated in your
One
life.
time,
Insane.
I literally went like
I got it.
almost 3 days without taking a sip of water.
So
I went 2 days
bad.
without noticing, and then I went to bed after the second day, and I woke up, and I like, yo, I could barely move. I had to crawl to my sink and like literally like splash the water into my mouth. I was like, it was honestly like.
break of
Why
Josh.
did you go that long?
I just
Really?
didn't even realize. I didn't even realize I just had not taken a sip of water.
Drink your water.
Like I was
kids.
just chilling, smoking weed.
You don't get thirsty.
So bad, dude.
Nah,
So
yo,
John,
bad.
he doesn't drink water. He doesn't
I
drink
like-
water.
it's
So
like
bad.
you know what I used to get.
The brisk iced tea.
I used to think I was hungry when I was thirsty.
John.
So I was like, oh,
John.
oh man, just take a bite of this.
I used to-
fucking good.
I
So
used to chill with
eat
you.
bread and shit.
So-
and
I used
dehydrate
to chill with
myself
you
more.
and be like,
So
yo,
bad.
John, have you like drank anything today? And you'd be like, yeah, like I had a couple sips of this brisk iced tea.
Literally,
And I was like,
that much
it would
of
literally be like,
Like
a cap,
an interval.
maybe 2 capfuls. No,
I mean, man,
no
like-
exaggeration. I would be like, John, like you're gonna die.
It
Dude.
was really
Like,
unhealthy, and I
you
did that for
have to-
years.
it was
Yeah.
Good.
It was honestly
good.
like, it was honestly
dumb.
crazy.
yeah, dude.
It was
I
not
have-
good for my
it was
health.
I have no
good,
idea how you like lived through the couple.
So-
of I was literally like, dude, you know, I've had like 2 sips of brisk iced tea. Like I'm good. I
Yeah,
was
So-
like, dude,
but
are
it
you
is
fucking
true.
serious?
Like when you have that headache, you don't think like, oh, let me drink more water. You're like, oh, let me take a sip of water with an Advil.
Let me find the fix
Yeah,
of
like,
the quick fix.
Yeah.
You know?
So Dominique, you are completely right there. When it's
That shit.
I feel like that's just how our culture is.
So you guys haven't-
Let me.
I-
make a
I-
point
go ahead.
really
Go
quick.
ahead.
I
To
was
that,
next, but fuck.
one of the weird things to think about. I heard something that
I mean,
80% of like commercial advertising
What is
is run by pharmaceutical companies, and that's
80% of commercials,
Believe
right?
it.
On today's
I believe
TV,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like advertisement,
which is nuts because there you go. Like that's how you get like this culture of like, let me treat my
Right.
symptoms because like I'm having trouble.
Have you ever paid
Yeah,
attention
so-
once you heard that fact? Because once you're aware of it and you start to pay attention, it's true. Like more than not, the commercials that we see are for advertisements of prescription pills.
And it's crazy to think like how many of those prescriptions could be dealt with if they just made like healthier life choices too, you know?
So,
But then it
It's crazy.
ties down to the food we eat, and that's a whole nother conversation.
Processed food.
Because
and
here in this
preservatives.
like country, and like maybe it's a Western thing, the food that we eat is
Terrible.
completely
it's
different
garbage.
than
And
the
it's
rest
double,
of the world.
you know, it's double
Yeah.
everything. It's
Yeah.
like supersized everything.
The FDA can say something is this and it's not that. Like they can straight up lie to you. Like they can say like this. You
FDA
could put
approved is garbage.
You could put a label
Doesn't
on
mean-
something that is straight up not true. Like
Right.
you could say this has
hormone free.
this has 100% of your daily value of vitamin C, and really it's a piece of shit in a bag.
So
And they could say FDA approved on it. Like it's crazy.
Go ahead,
Like
Sean.
that fact is a thing. Like that's
when I got to Germany, I went through a McDonald's drive-through, and I go, "Can I get a triple cheeseburger?" Like, "Oh, we don't got that." And I was like, "What?"
Throw 3 patties on a
They were
bun,
literally
baby.
probably like, "You fat fuck."
So I go,
triple.
You?
yeah. So I go triple cheeseburger. We don't got that. I was like, "All right, a double." Like, "All right, I got double." I'm like, "All right," and then
You get
I'll
4
get
of
a
I got a
large
double.
Coke. They give me a large Coke. It's about probably a small
No shit.
fountain drink
Think about that.
here
It's like this.
than it
probably.
is
Yeah, like,
in
think
Europe.
about that.
Smaller than that.
Isn't
No
a small the same
It's
as a
li-
medium as a large? Like, have you seen those?
Like,
videos?
Yes, but like in European countries, it's like it's
Oh.
proportionally
Yeah,
wise.
well,
Like, it's
all right.
A small
All right.
It's like the
or a large in European is probably like in the between a medium and a small. A medium. A medium. Literally, that's what it is. And then I got that shit. I was like, "What the
What are you
fuck?"
doing?
What do you think?
But
would be,
like, it's crazy just like to think about.
what
Like,
do you
agree.
think would be the best way to like stop obesity in like the U.S.? You know, because I feel like it's just like such a. Big
I mean,
push.
even
it
from
down.
Great
years
question.
ago,
Shut
it
it
was
down.
always like what when they go up to a drive-through, they're always like fucking
Supersize.
supersize it, and then they
Get
fucking
rid of drive-thrus.
yeah.
Just
But think about it, like Michelle Obama. You know, she tried to make the like healthy school
in
lunches and
schools,
stuff.
but
Well,
like
but I mean, that's where it
at
matters.
that
You're gonna
point-
learn what health is then, and then hopefully
Yeah.
bring it
The
on. into
majority.
your-
But at that point-
Me drinking 2
Obesity,
chocolate milks a day was not.
yeah, I got
not
triples.
elementary.
Yeah,
I got triples. I
Exactly,
literally
like,
would go to lunch 3
the
times.
people
and
that can
then leave
afford it,
school.
I'm getting 2 chicken patties with a double-sided
Bro,
fries and
like
2
chickens,
chocolate milks,
fucking
bro.
all-
Like,
But do you
Dude,
think it's like an
alright.
educational problem, or do you think it's
I
something
wouldn't say
they
it's an
need to?
educational problem, but people are just so used to eating whatever they want to eat, and then
So do
you
you
know
think it's
Michelle
something the
Obama
government-
comes in, she wants to make everything so more healthy, and then people are like, "No, I'm used to fucking having all this fucking food," and she's trying to make it more healthy.
So do you
Yeah.
think it's something like if we were to like handle that problem? Do you think it's something like the government would have to interfere and mandate things, or do you think it's something like
Government?
they just have to educate and people would make? Their
Oh my
own
God.
choice?
I mean, even if you want to
I
educate
feel like people
on
don't
the
make
subject,
their own
they
choice.
still have their own views, and they're gonna do whatever they want to fucking
Yeah.
do.
like I feel like people already have their own choice and they just don't make it, you
The
know?
government.
which is tough.
Thank you.
I think that it's not so much like a government control issue.
Bullshit.
I think it's
It's about parenting. Literally, I think it's about parenting and the lifestyle that they're growing up to
so.
once they get to grade school, and then like.
I think it's also about like the access that
Yes.
a lot of people have to good foods and how expensive it is.
On that note, Dome, from myself being in a trade, when I go on lunch, if I don't pack a lunch, where am I going? I'm gonna hit a fast food joint for lunch. So
But you could pack a lunch.
I could, but it all
Sure could.
comes down to convenience. Like if that wasn't an option for me,
If you were
if it was
lazy,
$15
But-
a day,
So
would
again,
do it.
you have the choice.
if
to
you
eat
were
healthier,
lazy, you
probably
would.
for
it's
even less money.
a simple convenience of like
Yeah.
I'm gonna skip packing lunch. I'm gonna stop at Wendy's, get a biggie bag, and be good.
But
for
it
lunch.
is
Yeah.
more
Well, when
convenient.
he sells a
It
salad.
it is,
Yes,
it
you could
is
just
more
as easily eat the
convenient when you
salad.
think about it, though, to pack your lunch. Like, if you just go to the store once a week, you can have 7 lunches versus...
Especially when someone else goes to the
That's
store.
that's what you gotta find. That's what you gotta
Somebody
find.
else is packing your lunches.
That's what you gotta find a good lady
When you're
for.
growing up, though, how many times have you actually had your
down.
lunch packed? Growing up?
Fucking
Growing up.
Never.
That's
Never
right.
once in my life, man.
What?
No,
I've never had my
I've
lunch
had my
back
own
from you.
lunches growing up.
If I
See,
Damn.
it
if I-
all depends
Fuck,
on
my dad
the
was like,
person
"Here's
and the
50 bucks,
lifestyle. That's literally what it comes down to. The person and the lifestyle.
were you-
What you grown up is what you know.
Were you prepared lunches in school? Like growing
Was
up?
I?
Yeah. Did you prepare
Even
big
though I
lunch?
was fortunate, no, I never had I
You
I
always
really
bought lunch.
never had lunches prepared for me to go to school. I always had to buy my lunch. Granted, when I was in elementary school,
True. Come on.
shit, well, at the end of the year, I fucking owed like $50 because my
Buying
parents
cookies,
just
buying
didn't give me
cookies.
fucking money. So I go to lunches and they're like, yeah, I don't have my fucking money.
I will say,
Like,
But
those
it's-
firecracker wraps,
Dude.
fucking fire.
But it's also
Fucking
significantly
So
more
good.
expensive to buy your lunches
Dude,
at
get
school than
doubles
it is
every
To make it.
goddamn
Yeah,
time.
but-
And that's
Get
what my
doubles
parents'
every time.
perspective
For
was.
sure.
They were
I
definitely bad.
Get the
we
doubles.
got that printed menu of the lunches, and like 3 times a month I would circle on the calendar that was on the fridge in our house the lunches that like I really wanted and I looked forward to, and those I was allowed to buy. But then the rest of the time, my parents made me
See, your
pack my
parents
own
did a
lunch.
good job. That's why you're
I
so
had to-
responsible now, because your parents did a
I was
good
about to
job.
say-
Well,
They came
I think my
correct.
parents
Let me-
grew up like
let me-
poor. So
let
they're
me-
like,
They
you're
came
not gonna
correct.
No,
buy
they grew up
these expensive
responsible.
Let me
lunches.
it
ask
all
a question.
comes
Let me ask-
down
let me ask-
to how you are raised.
Let me ask a
I
question
see-
based
they
off
came
that fact
correct.
right there. What were you guys bringing for lunch every day? If not, like, if you're buying,
Little
like, were you
ham
buying
sandwich.
the regular lunch, or
Ham
like,
sandwich.
what were you getting every day? Personally, I'll
That's what it
start.
was.
I didn't bring lunch a lot. I was usually
Exactly.
getting chicken patty or pizza. Dominique was circling her lunches, so you know that
Goddamn
she's either
ham
bringing it or
sandwich,
getting
I think.
something good. I don't think I ever really bought a school lunch.
So for
I was
myself-
chicken patty or pizza every day.
I grew up in poverty, right? So like I got free lunches.
Yeah, you did.
I grew up, but like I had free lunches in school, so like I every day got a free lunch, and that is different from people like me. You know, like there's a difference between people who had to either pay for lunch or bring a lunch. I either could bring a lunch, or obviously I'm going to take the free lunch, right? So that's another big factor. Of like I was gifted in a sense, like this opportunity to
What
just,
did they give you for the free lunch?
The regular
The same
lunch.
as everyone
Yeah.
else.
yeah, like I
You
would
would
go in,
choose
I'd
anything
type
you
my
wanted?
code, and it'd be 000. And
They
I'd
didn't
go
have
for
like a
lunch.
poor kid.
So were you
lunch.
like
No,
eating
no,
this-
not the
what were
question.
you
Here's a
having?
piece of bread
Well,
and a slice
it'd
of
be like
butter.
whatever.
You fuck.
It was either the main meal of the day, like
Or like
gonna
most
follow
times
that up.
were you eating
God
the main
damn it. I
meal
was
of the
gonna
day?
follow that up,
Do you remember
dog.
like were you eating the main meal
Yeah.
or were you eating chicken patty
poor
and
kids'
pizza?
lunch.
Bro,
So-
what are you eating now? That's what I want to know.
Same thing.
It's like we're talking about high school. It's like, what are you eating now? Same thing. So what if they
you're right.
taught you to eat healthier in high
Dude,
school?
that would've been way
You'd
better.
probably be eating healthier, and that's
I
what
don't know.
Michelle
I
Obama
don't-
tried to do.
I don't know.
I was-
personally-
But it comes
but-
down to how you are raised. Like,
No,
what do you
no.
grow
Hold
up
on.
with?
Hold on.
We're getting way out of
Matt,
whack.
go.
We're getting way out of whack. Who's gonna start this?
Dominique.
Don't.
I think personally, just from living with 3 guys, I think for you guys, it's not the issue of you knowing what is healthy and what's not healthy. It's the issue of you guys
Convenience.
Yeah. Like,
you
what do
guys
I wanna eat?
prioritizing time out of your day to prepare ahead
Oh my God,
of time.
of course.
Because I think all 3 of you, I hear you guys in the morning and it's like a scramble. Like I gotta get
Big
up
time.
and I gotta throw everything together.
Yeah,
And like
big
for
time.
me
I don't know what else
at
I eat
night,
breakfast in the morning.
like for me, I don't eat breakfast in the mornings, but for me at night, I prep my coffee, I prep my lunch, I have my outfit
Then
laid
Josh
How
out.
about that soup? How about that soup?
Yeah.
Uh,
We have any
I
extra
Because what
coffee?
I
didn't
like
drink coffee.
to do is my alarm goes off
Yeah.
and I literally have my socks out.
Never
I have
drank-
everything
never
packed. My
drank
gym
coffee.
clothes are already in the bag. Like all I have to do is take my stuff out of the fridge, put it in my lunchbox, and I'm good to go.
No,
Correct.
Ryan.
You were raised like that,
how-
though, weren't you?
Yeah.
I
Because I
How
was
you been like
raised-
that though.
I didn't even have a bedroom
God damn it! I'm
until I
sorry.
was like 12.
Alright.
You know, so it was like
Yeah.
it's
like,
so hectic in some other households
Right.
that it's like you don't even get that organizing system
Right.
until you're an adult, and then you have to
Right.
realize like, oh, I'm so unorganized. My shit is not together. You know.
And I think that is one of the perks of being an only child was my house was very quiet and peaceful, and I thrive off of that quiet, peaceful environment, which I do not get anymore.
So it's literally how you are raised.
Yes.
Like Ryan,
Yes.
how,
You're right,
like,
Sean.
like how were you raised? Like, if like the way you were raised, are you the same as Dominique?
Of course not.
Josh,
None of us.
No, none of us.
But the way you were raised
raised.
affects everything. If you're
everything
religious, if you're blah,
exactly,
blah, blah, you know,
exactly.
so the way
So
you were raised,
people are different because the way they are raised.
yeah. But I'm saying, what are those steps to take? Like,
But it
Again.
all depends on the parents.
yeah, I don't know, man.
It-
I learned a
But I
lot
also
from
feel
not
like
at
there's
home.
people who grew up in really chaotic environments who are like, oh, fuck that. I don't want to live like that anymore. And
I mean,
they
there
choose to,
are
like-
there are always exceptions to the rules. There's always exceptions. But I think where deep down where it comes down to is just like how you're raised, like your parents, like everything is comes down to how you're raised, how your parents are to you. Like,
So with that being said, Sean, that's a great point. But I feel like, with that being said, I am one of those people who are the exception to how I was raised.
and like I said, there's
and-
always exceptions
Because
to
the
the
product
rule.
that I should have come out as should have been the product of what my parents were. Like, I should have been headed down the path of, like, just substance abuse and mingling through how life should have been. And I've found through alternative aspects like martial arts and other aspects of my life that, like, I found mentors in that guided me a different path. Now, could you say that that mentor that guided me is the sole reason? Sure. But I feel like as a human being, you have the choice to make that call when you're coming through it. Is it an easy choice? No. Is it something that's plain as day where it's like you can go here or here? No. But I feel like there are, in everybody's life, there are significant determining factors that you can choose that lead you down a different path. And the reason that I'm not a fucking degenerate that's smoking crack on the street is because
You very well could be too.
I give Carlos the biggest of course I could.
I didn't mean that. In a
No,
bad
of
way.
course I could.
No, he could be.
Of course I could. Like, that's where I should be. But Carlos is the person that truly took me into a different place and showed me that this is what it has to be.
But I also feel like when you're that young and stuff,
You got yourself.
you realize
out
like
of
you
bad
have that
position.
choice. You pick who is
You
that
got
father.
yourself-
it's like a switch.
Like, I remember Pat-
It's a switch in your head.
I
You're
remember
a good
Pat, who grew up without a father his whole life. He was like, I was searching for a father figure, you know?
Yeah.
And he was like, I found it in Deegan because it was the most responsible, most picturesque,
Structured.
what a man should be
Exactly.
in his
Yeah,
life. He was like,
that's-
oh, that's what a man should be. He should be responsible. He should be on his shit. He should be physically fit. He should be
Honest,
always ready.
stern.
Yeah.
Always ready.
But you got to give a lot of credit
If it
in
weren't
that
for Carlos.
To
situation.
Pat's mom.
Yeah,
For
she
sure.
was-
Absolutely.
She was a straight up goat. Like,
But
that's-
Pat has even admitted, he's like, yeah, like when you're that young and you're just a boy, especially, like you are looking for that father figure. And he's admitted,
Of
like,
course. Of course.
Deegan was like that father figure. to me.
Yeah, man,
That's who
like-
I looked up to. And it's like,
Not right now.
you know, like his mom, absolutely all respect, all love to his mom. She is honestly a fucking trooper.
She's
And
saying-
I'm so glad
such
Pat's
a
going to be a doctor.
Bro,
so one day he could probably buy his mom a house and
Yeah.
take care of his mother. And not only that, they could live a happy life. But I will say, like, Pat was always probably looking for a father figure when he was younger. And he honestly, subconsciously got to choose
you know what's
who
crazy
he was
to me?
looking up to as a father figure.
I've actually like talked to him about it, and I've said like, you know, like you ever meet, the chance to meet this guy that's like your genetic father, would you want to know him? And he's like, no chance.
He's
Which
always
is
told me
just,
no.
he's like, no way, like there's just no point. Like I would like, which is
You could
like,
go.
I
You could go down
understand-
deep
like,
hole
I
on
could see,
this.
I could see both paths on that, but that's like that's crazy. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Would you?
is he's
I've
like-
always said that about
Would you?
That's what I was
being
gonna say.
adopted.
Exactly. That's what it was. It's very relatable to John, I'm sure. because he
I've
has
always
the
said that
opportunity
about
to
being
be
adopted, but the more I've gotten older and realized like just how life plays out and
you
stuff.
wouldn't want to know him at all.
Would you?
I used to
Sound
say
like
I
you would.
wouldn't want to know him at all. You know, I was like, I don't really care. I don't want to know him at all. Why would I? You know?
Yeah.
But then when I got older and I realized like, oh, this is how life plays out.
Like, it was tough
That's-
times for them.
Like it was not an
my
ideal
dad.
situation. They probably
They didn't feel ready to
even-
raise
They
you.
probably
Right.
didn't even want that shit to go down like that. You know, it does open my eyes, and I'm like, man, like it would be cool maybe to see them. You know, maybe they would be like, oh, like.
All right.
It's
They'd be
crazy
very
to see
proud.
this is
Looks
what you've
just like you.
grown up to
Exactly.
be, you know, it's crazy to
Right.
see like, it's crazy to see what you're doing with your life, what you look like, even like how you feel, how you act. They're
You
gonna
still
be
have
like,
one
wow.
ear.
You know what's
Literally,
weird?
and not only that, they're gonna be like,
You cut your hair.
they're gonna be like, it's crazy that you were raised in America, but yet you still pick up these parts of our culture just subconsciously
Right.
and shit like
Right,
that.
just
you
from
know,
being Korean.
because like
Exactly.
before I even spoke English, when I was 1 year old, when I got adopted, I spoke Korean, and I don't
just
remember
gonna say,
any
bro,
of that
think
shit.
23
you know?
years ago, right? 23,
Yeah.
24. They have no idea
Yeah.
What age were you
what is
adopted
going
into your
on
family?
in your life.
When I was 1,
1 year, 1 year.
which is older than usual.
Right.
It's insane.
And I remember seeing even somebody at the bar recently that was like, they were white, but they had spent a bunch of time in Korea, and they like looked at me when I walked into rooms, and they were like, you know, you walk into the room like just like a Korean person. Like you walk in with your head held high, and you look right at what you want to go, and you just walk to it and sit down. And it's like that's kind of weird, you know.
It's the behavior,
What are
the
you
behavior in the
talking
And they were
culture
like
is
the
more
way
of
they
a Korean
eat,
person.
like they never wait for shit to cool down. It's honestly a competition. They just eat it as hot as it can be.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't wait for my shit to cool down.
Subconsciously.
Once,
Subconsciously.
once
never
they get
wait
it, they
for
eat it. It's-
I blister my mouth, and I'm still like, that's good, you know.
That's how
Those
my
are-
family is too. Like,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, not that.
And nobody.
Korean.
So
in
your
my
family comes
now.
from the French culture, though.
Yeah.
If the French culture has that same ideology of like,
But also, I think a lot of my parents, well, my dad's ideologies was because my grandmother is Polish, really. And the only reason that we are like more French is because she was in she was in Poland during World War II.
yeah,
So her family moved to France, and then they just like restarted a life there.
right.
But really, I'm like more Polish than I am French. But like we just have a very like French culture. But like it is interesting, like my grandma never wasted food. Never. And like now if I throw something out, I mean even ask him, when we throw leftovers out, it like pains me. Because I'm like, I know my grandmother would be like literally rolling over in her grave. Like even
That's
you know,
amazing, though.
a peeler that you would use like for a potato or like carrots.
Like zucchini or
She was so against this because she felt like they wasted too much of
skin
it.
of it.
So she would take a steak knife and
no.
like pick the little like. It would take her hours like on a carrot. She'd like just pick the bad parts out of it with a steak knife so she could save the rest of it. And
It's amazing,
like,
though.
and then
to
like when
think.
you get your food, you eat it as hot as it can possibly be, as quickly as you can, and like that's it. Like.
Then you throw
You
it
That's
know.
the
out.
best. That's when it's gonna be the best.
Yeah.
You know?
But I feel like that just ties into like, you know, again, like the going grocery shopping and the prepping your food ahead of time and stuff like that, because it's like you want to be as little wasteful as possible and like
It's culture.
know.
Yeah, I've met somebody who they used to like. They were pretty poor when they were growing up, and one time, like at one hard part of their life, they had to eat like ketchup sandwiches.
Yeah.
And I remember when he ate a sandwich, had money at this point, but when he ate a sandwich, the crust was the best part to him. Because he knew when he was little, that was going to be the last bite for a while. He was like, I don't know when my next bite will be. This crust, I have to savor it. This is the best part of the sandwich to me, you know? Didn't even have like anything in it. No cheese, no meat, no anything in it. Just the crust. He was
Bread
like,
and
that's the best part.
ketchup. That's
Like, isn't that crazy?
Fucked
You
up,
know?
man.
I feel like another
We have
thing,
people that cut
Is
the
the person
crust
in your
off their
family?
shit.
yeah.
It's
We do.
it's DJ.
I feel like another thing, like
Definitely
kind of
that.
going back to the school lunches, is like how many kids grow up and they don't see grocery stores. Like think about even if we're in the city of Syracuse, there are no big grocery stores in the city.
There's some.
No, there's not.
I
Which
remember-
ones?
What's
Where's
the one? What's the
Aldi's?
one that Nick?
All these is all over the place.
What's the one?
not
That green.
in the city.
I know
They're
it's a
all
lot.
like
Yeah,
in the
what's that one?
surrounding areas.
Not,
They are-
not that big. That's
don't
smaller
eat
than
right.
top.
There's
it?
no.
It's like a convenience
So
store.
like think
Where?
about.
But it has fresh groceries, doesn't it?
Yeah,
What are you talking
it
about?
does.
So there's one small one. It's not enough to feed how many. I mean, think about how many people live in like the actual inner city of Syracuse.
Yeah, but honestly,
So then it
Upstate
limits
does
you.
a super good job caring for those people.
Okay, but that they're not caring for all of them.
I will
They
say
do a really good job caring for most of them. Like they offer, there's a program that like Upstate has. They offer like 6 meats, fucking 12 things of fucking pasta, and like a bunch of snacks for like $20.50. There's no pre-qualifying things. Like any of us could get it. Like if I had the flyer and I walked up and I was like, I want this, they offer it to you.
But what I'm saying is, like, it's really hard to develop habits of cooking and making meals at home when you don't have a grocery store accessible to you.
I will say, like, in the city, sometimes you find those people that have never even seen, like, they barely even see suburbs. Like, they think the suburbs are country. Like, I remember there was, like, we were working at a construction site, and my coworker had met this guy, and he was, like, working the elevator, and he was like, yeah, like, I gotta move out to that Camillus. He was like, he literally said that. It's Camillus, but he said Camillus. He was like, I gotta move out there. That's that country, but they got that new Walmart. And he was like, it is country, though. Like, he had never been out the city. He didn't realize, like, the suburbs weren't even close to country. Camillus, I mean, we all know is, like, far from country, you know? But for him, that's what it was.
That's
you know?
such a town.
I'm pretty sure some people in downtown Syracuse murdered somebody, and they brought it to Solve to dump the body, which is, again, not even, like, suburbs. That's, like, still city. And they were like, oh, we thought we brought it deep enough
I mean,
into
if
the
you think
country.
about Solve, when you think about it, you're like, that's not, they're not
Cats out there.
Good old cats.
They're a fucking bunch of degenerates out in Solve.
Good old cats.
But you gotta think, man. You gotta think. It's like there's some people
damn.
that grow up in the city and they barely ever leave
Name
the
a
city.
picture of that.
You
I
know?
don't know.
They barely ever leave their school district. They never even, like, venture outside their school district.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like, so they didn't... Sometimes, I mean, that's kind of tough, you know? I feel
never
like not at the
experience
grocery
everything else.
store like that a lot.
Or to never have a car to take yourself to, like, go see anything.
That's the big thing, I think, for people in the city.
transportation.
Is like, even if there's a supermarket in the city, how are you gonna get to the supermarket if it's more than a mile away? You gotta take the bus, and like, the bus is affordable, but like, you have to get on the bus, you have to go to the
Friends,
supermarket, you have
rides,
to
cars.
buy them. You probably have food stamps, which is like, there's a lot of government aid, right? Like, it's possible to definitely get the things you need. And like, from my perspective, again, like, my family's always like had food stamps and had the opportunity to like get food for our family. But like, it comes down to, is the family that's getting these food stamps, are they using it for actually providing and feeding your family, or are you using it for other benefits?
You would hope so.
You know, it's like more times than not, like, we've all seen it. Like, you go to the grocery store, you're at Walmart, right? You're getting groceries, and you see these people with a shopping cart to the brim, and you see them, and they, no offense to anybody is considered to be looked down upon, but like, they might look like they're fucking, you know, like white trash, and like they have these shopping carts full of food, and like, they're not paying cash, they're not swiping their card for these carts. Is that wrong? No, because there's these aids that have been put in place, but like, these people are taking the fullest advantage of the government programs to get food and things.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's.
I'm glad you said white trash, Ryan. Because I was about to get racist up in here from everybody. I was like, what are you talking about?
There's a lot of good programs, and it's just, you can never, there's always going to be people that underachieve, and there's going to be people that overachieve. It's just natural.
It's never going to go away.
There's always, it's just what it is. And I don't know, it's just your opinion whether or not you believe they carry the people that underachieve, you overachieve, but, I forget what I was going to say.
Matthew.
If we're going to take a topic switch, I think last night we were talking about Obeckley Tepley.
Go Beckley
Tepley. And these two, John, especially Dominique, knows a good amount about it.
Really?
So I think that...
Not really.
That's cool.
But
I know a little bit.
Yeah, like, I think this group would be the best place to bring it up and, like, see what their thoughts are about it. Because, like, last night I felt like it was good, but, like,
What
I
are
know
your
that
thoughts
I've talked
about
to
it?
these two about it before.
Well, I guess, what do you
So,
even
is that
like? Like,
anything,
what
or-
is...
You
I
don't
don't
know.
Well, I
know
know
what you
it's-
guys are
yeah.
talking
What's
about.
the name of the author that has the theory that
I
there was
knew-
the cataclysm?
Hancock.
John?
Graham Hancock.
John?
I mentioned
Ryan?
that, and I also mentioned that they think it's like the lost city of Atlantis. Some people,
Can
and I
you,
also mentioned that it was a
explain?
society that was more advanced than hunter gatherers, like 10,000 years before they even thought there
We
were
had
societies
been able-
like that. You know, which is just crazy.
I'm,
You know,
I'm
that's
still
insane.
not understanding.
It's weird.
What's
so
the term?
basically,
What's the term?
it's not a term, it's a place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard hoobly goobly, right?
Your best off, Josh, is being quiet.
So basically,
Right.
and again,
Right.
I have very limited knowledge on it, but
Swiss cheese.
it
So,
is
you're
a
good.
place with architectural advancements that are way the
More
time
advanced.
period that these were built.
They're more advanced than where we are today. Gotcha.
No,
Yeah.
that's not where I was going. They are more
Yeah, I
advanced than
assumed.
what they should have been in that time period. So like
That's
these
fair.
people were using tools. These people were using like
Agricultural skills.
agricultural skills
Yeah.
to build
Architecture.
This, yeah,
Things
this
that
stuff.
shouldn't have been advanced
What-
the way
And
Yeah.
back then,
What
at
time
the
period
time
Was this?
period,
What is it?
it should have been people who were like still hunting and gathering,
It
not
was-
farming.
like John said, it was
It's like
it
the
was,
oldest site of like
was
picture
like
like
fucking
pyramids of
1200,
Giza, but
like-
just like not as crazy. But picture
No.
like
All
pyramids
right,
of
I
Giza.
got
Way
you.
just
All
discovered
right,
this.
let's have a conversation.
It
They
says,
just got
it says
Let's.
that Quebec Tabli was estimated to be between 9,500 and 8,000 BCE.
God damn it, that's a long time.
With a number of large circular structures supported by massive stone pillars.
Did you say 1,200?
Yeah.
It
that's
said
fucking
95.
right.
so before the story of Christ,
No.
like it was
Yeah, no.
before,
Way
Yeah,
before,
way before
way before
Jesus
that.
wait, like thousands
I
of
mean,
years.
Yeah,
but
big time.
Christ
BC
wasn't
means
real.
before Christ.
Correct.
So it was 9,500 years estimated before Christ.
Almost 10,000 years before that.
Stop saying Christ like I wasn't real.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's jump into that, huh?
it's a weird concept, but it's all good. It is crazy. To me, I don't know. Like, what I've heard about it is that this guy, it was Graham. What's
Graham
his last
Hancock.
name? Graham Hancock says that
Had the
there's
same Campbell.
there was like it was like his theory, I think, from what I remember like listening to a little bit, was that there was like some sort of cataclysm that was the Ice Age and like the undoing of the Ice Age, and prior to that there was like a break off of someone from Atlantis. They go to hunter gatherers and tell them how to build structures that was Quebec Tagli.
Yeah.
Quebec.
Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
so-
I don't know. But
The concept of it is like
that was his. I think that was his theory.
there was somebody in history that knew an advanced civilization technology,
Yeah.
and it was lost in time.
Well, that's what they're saying. Like he broke off from Atlantis or Egypt, like based on the time period, and explained like to hunter gatherers how to build these structures.
Right.
I think you brought up last night, John. Plato wrote about it, right?
I don't know if it was Plato, but it was like
A
Greek
famous
philosopher.
philosopher.
But it's just what makes it so confusing is that it doesn't match up with our current understanding of like the development of human civilization.
right, right.
And that's what doesn't really
Nothing
make
makes
sense to us
sense,
because
bro.
we shouldn't have known how to do those things at that time.
Well,
Some
I
people
mean,
think
if
it
they're-
looks like a
right,
transfer of
even if they're-
technology.
Right,
This is
there's a
very
transfer
off.
of technology, but we don't know where the transfer is from, and that's what because they can't find anything else that's matching that.
Like some
Main-
people think
so-
like even aliens came down.
If
and
you
was like,
if you
here's how you
remember
do this
that
shit. Right.
interview that we were watching on Joe Rogan, that you were like, "This sucks." it was that guy Graham
no.
Goselaw interviewing the mainstream for philosophy or something like that, and
Philosophizer.
in
Philosophy.
archaeology or something like that. And he was like challenging their ideas. He was like, "Oh, okay, like this is what I wrote about," and you were saying that this is not true because the mainstream media says this, or the mainstream says this.
What is the mainstream saying?
The mainstream was saying that that's impossible because you need to be able to prove that
civilization wasn't that old.
You can't say that, like, just because there's a flaw in your theory, that means the theory is wrong. You need to be able to say there's a flaw in your theory. This is, like, the alternative. You need to be able to provide a bunch of evidence as to, like, what went, like, is the alternative theory, as opposed to saying that, like, there's a flaw in this theory, and that's it. And
Mainstream says that civilization, like, wasn't that old. It was hunter-gatherers at that time. You know, that's what mainstream says. They weren't building agricultural things. They weren't building architectural things. It was hunter-gatherers at that time.
Right.
That's what mainstream says, and it clearly isn't
Right.
from the site because the site is so advanced.
Right.
But what they're saying is you need to, like, present more than just, like, oh, like, this doesn't align to your theory because of this time period. It needs to be, like, you need to have more evidence than just, like, oh, like, there could have been someone that introduced this because this doesn't make sense. You need to have, like...
Well, right, and I agree with that. I think, though, it's not easy to find evidence of something from 10,000 BC.
Right.
So, like, yeah, I agree with you.
No, I
agree with, like, what you're saying, but I think it's not that easy for them to produce evidence of what happened because there is no
proof
found evidence.
The interesting thing about that podcast is they have to take, like, the mainstream has to take the point of a skeptic. Like, they have to be like, oh, this is, like, you can't prove, like, oh, this is not true because there's a hole in this theory because there's a billion people that say, oh, there's a hole in this theory because you're just taking, like, evidence from here, here, and here and drawing lines. And in between those lines, there's going to be a bunch of holes that you can poke because there's no, like...
But that's the issue
Yeah, it's
with
like part of what
our
you say makes
understanding
sense and
of
part of it
history.
doesn't. So
You know, we understand little bits and pieces because that's what we found, but we can't draw a straight line, obviously, because we don't know
It's very
what
clouded.
actually went down.
how do people know
I
what
agree.
color dinosaurs were? I don't think they do. Bullshit.
Well, that's not.
It's bullshit.
On a different note, I asked last night, and
Thank you.
Dominique and Matt, I'd like to hear your input on this as well, just really quickly. The pyramids themselves, like, what is your best belief of how they were built? Like, what do you think is, like, the method of the way they were constructed? Now, so the big topic of conversation last night was, like, not only are they architectural masterpieces, right? But they're also, like, the pyramids of Giza, they point to true north, and they're, like, their latitude and longitude are spot on to the Earth's coordinates. And, like, if that was pure coincidence, that's one thing. But if it wasn't, and they were actually on point, like, how could they ever achieve that?
Right.
And
They were
more
also-
likely than not, it's like, that was on purpose. Like, it wasn't an accident that they're pointing to true north with the pyramids of Giza.
They were also constructed in a faster amount of time than what we would be able to estimate based
hate
on
that you
our understanding of their technology.
Oh,
Correct.
Jesus.
They were built like in lightning speed compared to what they should have been built in because they didn't have cranes to lift this shit up.
So you guys are also on the same page as me. As like, you're assuming there was an ancient civilization that had advanced technology that built the pyramids. It wasn't like it was like slave labor that like
slave labor.
There
There
was
was
definitely
definitely
slave labor.
This hurts
That's
me.
Slave labor.
Yeah.
slave labor is like the ultimate like
There was definitely slave
That's the guess.
logical
But-
way of how it was built. It was like that's the only way that
Think
humans
of
can
it.
Yeah,
comprehend.
I
There was
think-
definitely that without
Yeah.
a doubt. You
Yeah.
can't like
Oh
there was
my
millions of slaves
God
back then
damn it,
either way.
you-
There
Vernon
was no-
Hancock says how there was not slavery in ancient Europe. He talks about it.
First of all, it's not Europe. It's the
Sorry,
Middle East.
you're right.
Then
Ancient
you have to
Egypt.
explain Graham Hancock.
You're right.
Though.
I said
What
ancient
about the
Europe.
Jews?
Ancient Egypt.
Yeah, no, it was loaded.
Part of
Like,
the
what are you
Jesus.
talking about? Like,
There was
in all of civilization, like in like around the Mediterranean Sea,
Oh.
there was history of slavery.
Yes,
like,
and
in all of them.
Yes,
I
you're
feel
not
like.
wrong, but there were also periods of time where there were not slavery, and they think that the times where the pyramids were built, there was not slavery in ancient Egypt.
But even if it wasn't slave labor and it was just really
What time are you leaving?
shitty paid labor, what difference does it make?
Exactly.
There were still people
Exactly.
building
Like,
it, but
and there's no logical answer of how it was done,
I
other
just
than
don't-
slave labor.
What amazes me is that it was built in such a mathematically like precise way for people who had no levels, no calculators, no ability to like project things and like
Cut things in
see
precision.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
So,
Yeah.
I just looked it up a little bit.
Hold on.
Sean,
Let's Sean talk.
Like ancient Egyptian times, it was all about the gods. That seriously,
Yeah.
a lot of people like just think about the gods. If they didn't do something, they'd be punished by the gods.
And there was a God for everything.
There's a God for everything.
So we know, though. Like, that's like if
Yeah,
if
but that's
civilization were to
about
drop
a lot
off
of things. That's a different topic. That's about a lot of things.
You're right. Go ahead.
But at the time when they're building these structures, like they're slaves, but they're also taught, like, if you don't do this, you're gonna be punished by the gods. Who like at that point in time, who would want to be punished by a god that they brought up to know that, like, if you didn't fucking do this or you did this, like,
You're never gonna make it to the afterlife.
exactly. So they're going.
Does that
They
account
are
for
taught to do
tons
things a
of
certain
bricks that were
way,
built?
and if they don't do it the certain way, they're going to be punished.
I like John's theory of like the molding and like casting the size of the bricks, but it's been proven not to be true. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this because I just want to hear your guys' standpoint on it because we'll never know. Like it's going to be the ultimate mystery all the time.
So you were saying something that slavery was not in that time period. Slavery, I guess, was abolished in ancient Egypt in 1877.
Okay.
And it was believed the pyramids were built in...
A lot longer before that.
Hold on, every year.
Yeah, like they had are they BC?
Built in... God damn it. It was BC. It was like 2500 BC.
2012.
Yeah, it was like 20...
yeah.
It was like 2500 BC.
Nostradamus.
And then it's strange that like there's the connection to the ancient civilization from like the end of the Ice Age because I just looked it up. We said Göbekli Tepe was 9500 BC and the end of the Ice Age was like 11,500 BC. So 2,000 years before that. 2,000 years. Like that's a long time.
You think like it's
So like what like that doesn't even make sense. Like that
exactly.
Those timelines don't. I mean, I'm not like
in
I
our
don't know shit.
in our perspective of living as a human being, of like our lifespan's 100 years, best case scenario. It's like to think 2,000 years. That is beyond our comprehension of life. Like that is like 2,000 years is 20 lifespans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's like that is so vast to what we experience as human beings.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's
No, I'm just trying to figure out when it said the Atlantis was a thing.
we're getting to the point, Sean, where it's a minute two.
Yeah. So, definitely reaching about that time. So,
It's been a good podcast again, though. Like,
Yeah,
it's almost like there's
it
so much more to
was-
talk about, but we just can't. Like,
We
it's
will
okay.
figure out stuff about Göbekli Tepe and Atlantis and all these.
at some
Sean,
point,
or John, do you have anything to ask Sean?
Sean's going to Houston tomorrow.
I had some really cool questions.
Let's talk about it, bro. Hey,
We got some time.
John's going.
We
to
got
fucking-
time. We got
he's
time.
moving tomorrow.
Like I had questions for Dominique.
Oh,
Like
Alright.
what her like dream job was when she was little, and if she's anywhere close to that, being a physical
let's
therapist.
talk about it, and let's wrap it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
You like your job more than anyone I've
I
ever
do.
met.
Matt, it's not about you.
Let's talk
This
about it.
is
Let's
about
talk about it.
Dominique.
Let's
Like,
let
I've
Dominique
never-
talk. Let's
I've
let Dominique
never-
I'm not
Matt-
saying you're unaccomplished. Obviously, you have your doctorate and you're super impressive. But I'm just saying, like when you were little, what was like your dream job? I don't think any of us are our dream job.
Right, we
Dude,
talked about
when we
those
were
things.
little, you know. So, what was your dream job? You know.
I would say, yes, I do agree with you, Matt. I do love my
I've
job.
never met anyone who loves their job more than you. Like I straight up like. She comes home from her job happy.
Nerd.
Every day, it makes me jealous, bro. Like it makes me jealous. Like she comes home from her job every day, like happy, and I'm
Well,
like,
Not true.
fuck this
See,
shit.
the
Yes,
crazy
you
thing
do.
is-
Like
Not
it's-
every
you
day.
come home from jobs sometimes, and you're like, that was a bad day. I come home from work almost every day, and I'm like, that shit sucked. And then sometimes I'm like, that was
Matt,
a good day.
Matt, the crazy thing is that's not what I'm asking. Thank you very much.
I know.
Thank you very much for your
Let's
input.
love Dominique.
She's pretty
But
close.
I'm asking Dominique what her
My-
dream job was when she was little.
My
Yeah.
dream job when I was little was to be an interior designer.
No
Really?
shit. No shit.
Damn.
See-
You're way fucking better than that
No,
shit. You're
I
way fucking
still,
better
if
than
I
that
could, I would love, I love renovating
Oh,
stuff.
put
and-
this couch
it's
here.
the
That goes to show though,
It's
because,
the decorations.
because Dominique loves to like
Decorate.
decorate, bro. Like
Exactly.
when think about like just Christmas alone, like Christmas, Dominique looks at it like a full opportunity to decorate the entire house top to bottom.
Yeah.
Let's wrap the staircase and lights.
But
Let's
I'm
get
saying,
like,
like,
you know, like
your job is way better than that shit.
I
feel
think
like.
that I have more satisfaction in my job now. Like, not
How
that
could you
being,
not, you know?
like
How
being an
could you
interior
not?
decorator, you're helping people, and like that's always what I've known I've wanted to do.
Helping
like-
people move a couch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I think you still get like a sense of accomplishment with that, but like I was telling him the other day, there are days in my job where I see someone who has like had a stroke or an amputation. Like, for example, I had a patient and he had an amputation like to the level of his thigh, and he hasn't walked in over a year. And I got to be with him, holding on to him as he took his first steps. And I do that all day. And like sometimes like it's kind of surreal to see like a man, like especially like working with veterans, like these men who were so able-bodied and they're so used to like being able to do all these things, and all of a sudden like their health takes that away from them. And then me being on the side in the medical like field of, okay, like let's take your first steps, let's practice going to the store, let's like practice getting in and out of bed. And like there's something so, to me, like heartwarming about watching someone get to do that.
That is really cool.
Like seeing someone take their first step with a prosthetic leg, and like having them just be like, oh my god, I can't believe I just took a step. Like I haven't walked in over a year. And
So
it's a
at
good
what
feeling.
point in your life would you say you decided to do that?
Not till
like in
the middle
college?
of college. I
Really?
originally went to college to be a nurse.
no
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. See, that's crazy, I
You
never
made that
even knew
switch
that.
halfway through.
Yeah.
Like you were like, yeah.
I did
Damn.
half of nursing school, and then I was like, I like being in the medical field, and I wanted to help people, but I wanted to be, and this is like kind of selfish, but in nursing a lot, you see a lot of bad outcomes where I'm working with people who are more medically stable, so
Trying to become.
So we're trying to get them back into like the world again.
Yeah, you only help them.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
don't-
only help them get better.
I don't see a lot of death, and that's what I didn't want to deal. I didn't want to see a lot of death and dying.
And I don't think that's
takes-
selfish. I think like that's you knowing like, oh, if I had a job like that, I wouldn't be to the best of my ability.
It takes a
sometimes,
very special person to work with that, and I am not that person.
Yeah, Matt's
you
super
know.
special. Special lad.
Shit.
But yeah, no, that is really cool. I can't
What
believe
about
you.
you?
What about me? What?
What was your dream job?
We did
Ryan?
talk about it last
Oh,
time we were on.
you did.
We talked about
on
it again.
thing.
Bring it up.
But I did want to be an aerospace engineer really bad. Like in 5th grade, that was like my dream job. And people were always like, oh, NFL player and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, it'd be pretty cool to like shoot rockets up in the air or something,
Yeah.
And then like, I do always wonder, we were talking about it, like, what if school was made so they know what your dream job is and they drive you to that, or at least in that direction. Like, math and science would be like my only subjects pretty much, and it would be all about like trajectory and aerodynamics and stuff like that,
Yeah.
stuff that I would care about,
Right.
Because we were talking about if John had that true passion to become an aerospace engineer, he wouldn't be able to reach the start of learning about that topic until college.
Right.
So that means for his aspiration of becoming that in 5th grade, he has to go through 10 plus years of schooling before he even gets to explore the idea of doing that. And
I
that,
met
I
a
feel
girl
like,
that was an aerospace engineer, and it was really impressive to me. And she was like, yeah, it's like she just acted like it was nothing, And I was like, that's what I wanted to be, like, when I was a kid.
and she's like, why didn't
And you're
she?
just like, oh, it's just
Job.
chilling, Yeah, it's just my job. And I was like,
I feel like that's how Gabe is. Like,
That's
he's
crazy,
full-on
you know?
scientist,
yeah,
like
he's in labs. He
bio. biochemical engineer.
His dream job is to like be working on cures for like diseases, and I think that's like so fucking cool, you know? Like that's like one of the coolest fucking things I've ever heard.
Right.
Like damn, that's sick, bro. So I feel like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes school is meant to like, if you don't follow the rules in school, like if you're not that type of learner or whatever, like you're almost guaranteed to fail sometimes. It makes me sad, you know. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish like teachers were sometimes more involved. Like,
Right.
I used to have teachers that would tell me like, "You're not gonna be shit," and I was like, "All right, well, fuck you too, then," you know.
Right.
So it just comes down to like the whole aspect of school and how they're just kind of doing it a little bit wrong. I mean, absolutely, it works for a lot of people, probably majority of people. So I can't say they're doing it wrong if they're getting most people through it.
But it's only those that conform to the regulations and the.
Exactly.
You know,
how many of those people
You
are
make
like,
sacrifices.
How many of those people are like, this is what I wanted
You're
to
gonna
do
give up your rest of your life.
ever since I was a kid, you know?
Right.
I always wanted to be this. And now I am. How many of those people that go through school are that? It's kind of like sad to me.
It's very interesting to think about like the goals that we had as children of what we are now. We're not. I'm sure like everybody's not very far off. We all had a generalized sense of like where we're gonna go. Like for myself, it's like, did I ever think I was gonna be a chimney sweep? No. But did I ever think I was gonna do like physical labor? Sure. Like I felt like if I was gonna flunk out of nursing school and like the intelligent side of me was gonna go out the window, I was gonna end up in physical labor. You know, like, and I just always knew that. And it's the same way with anybody, I feel like. It's like everybody has like a backup plan of like what they're gonna go
I
through
feel like
in
it's
life.
not impossible to like chase for that dream though.
No, it's
You
not.
know?
It's
I
that
feel like if any of us wanted to be anything right now, we could like take out student loans, go get the education,
Yeah.
and become whatever we really actually wanted to. Like that's the greatest part about this country is like if you work your ass off, you'll do whatever the fuck you want. You know.
Really, the shittiest thing is they don't do a good enough job telling you like what you can do.
in high
Yeah.
school.
Exactly.
They keep you suppressed.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think like I grew
Not
up.
only they keep you suppressed, I'm sure that they do a good job. Like because I know that they used to have like those tests saying like you
leave
can
it
do
right
all
up.
this.
You
Those
gotta be here.
I don't know what those
Right,
tests are
right,
called, but like I want to call it like an aptitude test, but it wasn't. Like you take a test and it tells you like what you can do, but I feel like they didn't do a good enough job saying like, hey, like if you're really into sports, you can be a sports telecaster. You can be like in
Other lines.
there's
other
so
than
many things
Right.
that make that just if you're into sports specifically that make that game happen
Right.
Yeah,
that
but
you
I
can get
feel like
into.
we did do that in like home and careers.
But like
Oh,
Like
some
that
careers.
class, I remember there was a website and you could click like things that you liked or like things you were interested in, and then it would generate a
I
whole
remember that
list of
website.
careers. You
Yeah,
remember
That was
that?
some bullshit though.
yeah, and it was kind of like that's what I'm saying. Like that was like the most I remember about like them trying to teach us what we could do. Versus again, like if you talk to a kid that was interested in anything, like the environment, you could be like an environmental biologist. You could be like
A botanist.
But also
a botanist.
at,
You
at
could
15
you could be a
years-
park ranger. You could be. There's a billion things that go on every day to make like life life goes smoothly as it does, and they don't do a good enough job saying that these are all your options because like I was just talking to my dad about it today. I said
But you gotta do
like
the research yourself,
I
too.
watch for sure you do, but I watch
It can't all.
I
be
like
handed
to
me.
watch like Animal Planet, National Geographic. Like, how cool of a job would it be to go videotape a fucking cougar?
They just film.
Okay, but
Like,
That-
I mean,
that-
like it's
that
probably
takes-
shitty. It's probably
Yeah.
shitty,
That
but you're
takes
also.
a lot of time.
But if you are into that kind of stuff, like how cool of a job
How
would you
rad
have
that would be.
to go sit in like a safari and just videotape?
But it's also your job to figure those things out. Like it's not someone else's job.
Well, the public education
that would
system
be
should
every
do a better
that would
job
be every job.
incentivizing you to do better in school by saying this is like you can achieve this goal. That like they should try to figure out a little more what people are into to incentivize them to do better.
I feel like that's self-motivated, you know? It's like you have to figure out what you're into. Like, how is a kid gonna know that?
Yeah.
But how's the school gonna know that then?
Yeah.
Because the school has had people that are educated or enough funds to have found someone that's educated enough to know that these things are all available versus a child who has no funds and no education available to know that stuff.
We had guidance
all right.
counselors and you had access to them every year.
We'll have another podcast.
Yeah,
guys.
we definitely got to have another podcast. Is kind of getting to that point. We're about an hour and 15 minutes in.
So do you guys,
delete this one.
Sean? Do you know? Do you like the new iLadies feature?
We'll talk about this another time.
Let's say one real quick though. John, you're leaving for Texas tomorrow, bro. I love you. And
we all love you, man.
This podcast would be like, like us saying like.
I really appreciate it, man. I'm gonna go see Imagine Dragons too, right when I get there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Imagine
You're gonna have
Dragons.
to tell us all about that. Imagine Dragon just
Good night,
balls across your face.
We love you, John.
This is a once in a while podcast.
It's gonna be great.
We're outie. See you on the next one.
That was awful.